Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I've learned as I've grown into the person that I am today. And I've had a busy day today. It is currently 6:09 p.m. I'm getting ready to lay down for a little bit after I make this video. Alex is upstairs. We went to brunch today. We just kind of came home and relaxed, and then I decided to film a couple videos. So I am ending my video filming day today by reading some meditations. So I pulled out 6 books. I'm gonna read these. I'm gonna be so relaxed and ready for a nap after this. I'm really, really excited. So anyway, so here are the 6 books that I picked. The dogs are upstairs and they are cuddling with Alex. So they are not down here to pick out the books and to help me today. So I'm just gonna have to randomly pick a book, and I'm gonna pick Forgiving and Moving On. Daily Affirmations for Forgiving and Moving On. Powerful Inspiration for Personal Change by T.N. Dayton, PhD. This will be the first book. We'll see how long this goes. I could make this a 30-minute video. I probably won't, but I could make it one. Okay, it is February 23rd today. Ooh, look, healing. February 22nd was Healing Hurt Relationship. So if 23rd isn't great, we could go back and read that one. Natural Growth. Let's read this one first. Natural Growth, February 23rd. Today I recognize that my bursts of growth are accompanied by backslides, and I accept this as a natural learning pattern. When children have a learning explosion into talking, walking, or whatever, they experience a minor regression. When I have a learning or growth explosion, I may experience a regression afterward. New behaviors and awareness stabilize with practice. Today I will not take that regression to mean that the growth was not genuine. I will understand that accompanying a large step forward is a small step backward. I will allow this to take place, trusting that my experience of growth will integrate naturally if I allow it to. I trust my natural pattern of growth and expansion. Just don't give up trying to do what you really want to do. Where there's love and inspiration, I don't think you can go wrong. Ella Fitzgerald. Pull over my ottoman so I can put my chairs on it when I'm, or my books on it when I'm done. It's a great meditation, and I don't know how many of you are reading along with me. If you are, I'd just be interested to know, is there anybody out there that's reading along with me the motivational, inspirational, self-help books that I've been picking for the month? So this month's book is Make Your Bed. I can't remember the name of the guy that was in the military, but I started listening to it last night. I'm halfway through, so I'll be finishing it tonight. But it's basically 10 lessons that he learned by being a Navy SEAL. Over his entire career was of being a Navy SEAL. And he gave the commencement speech at the University of Texas, I believe, in Austin, like in 2014, and then this is what he turned into a book. So we've seen several other, motivational books like this. I am struggling a little bit relating to his stories. I'm struggling relating to a little bit, but the lessons are so profound. And he has one in there that is called, I believe, something that it's about the circus. And so he goes in there and he tells this story about, for anybody that's in Navy SEAL training, if they are in last place for swimming that day or calisthenics or something like that, they get put on this list for the circus. And the circus is, at the end of the training for the day, they have to do an extra 2 hours. And the problem with that is that they can do it, but then they're so tired the next day that they fall behind, and then they continue to be on what's called the circus. And he says something like, don't let the circus keep you down, right? You just keep on trying your best and doing the best that you can do. And there's this one part in there which is really interesting because he has a really, really scary parachute accident, which is so interesting because the other book for this month is the Dr. Eben Alexander book, Proof of Heaven. And he has a major parachute situation happen, almost identical. The outcome's different, but almost identical to this book. And I was like, that is the serendipitous. That is so serendipitous of these 2 books, to have the same thing to happen. Serendipitous, I don't know. Serendipity, that's probably not the correct word for that, but it's a coincidence. It's a strange coincidence, that maybe I'm on the right track, that I'm supposed to be reading these books. But anyway, there's a part in there where he's at home, and his wife, I think her name is Georgianne, has she's taking care of him. But he says, she never lets me forget who I am, and that I can do anything. And so when he's wanting to complain, she's she won't let him get away with just complaining and stuff. Which, I think is such a good sign of our partners. I've always said that one of the greatest traits in my husband is that he challenges me to be a better version of myself. you know, I think one of the things that he said in the book that I really loved was that mistakes make leaders, and that you're going to continue to make mistakes over and over and over again, but you're going to learn each time you make those mistakes, you know? And it's about the being open to the mistakes and being open to growth that makes great leaders. And I loved that idea, you know, that none of us, I think, wake up with all the answers. It's interesting to me, you know, especially living my life online. You know, in my personal life, I think people have allowed me to make mistakes, and they have forgiven my mistakes, and they have acknowledged my growth. Just like I forgive other people's mistakes, obviously, and I, you know, acknowledge their growth and get excited when I see other people grow and learn from their mistakes. Just like I get excited when I learn and I grow from my own mistakes. Online, it's a different story. People don't really want to forgive you for your mistakes. They don't want to allow you to grow. And it's kind of a weird world, you know, especially since I came into that world late in life. I think that probably one of the strengths that I had in my own life is that I already knew that, I mean, I had experienced it so much in my own life that we learn from our mistakes. Like, I mean, that's kind of like a, you know, a trite statement, but we really do. We learn from our mistakes, right? I knew that. I had experienced that. Most of the greatest, some of the things that I have in my life that are my greatest skills or talents, I have received as a result of screwing up over and over again. You know what I mean? So what's sad to me about that is if you come onto the internet and the internet is your life at 12, 15, 17, 16, 20, 21, 25, right? You've grown up in this culture that to make mistakes is unforgivable, and that you can't grow from that because people are very unforgiving online. And I think that brings it back to then you have to ask yourself, is the growth for me or is it just to show off to somebody else, right? And when you get to the point where you're like, well, the growth is just for me, then if you make regression, you know, that's okay. I'm a true believer that any kind of progress doesn't look steady like this. It's like 3 steps up, 2 steps back, 3 steps up, 2 steps back, but you're still going up the whole time, right? We're still going in direction of like growing natural growth, like this is talking about. So I like that. You know, it's like we wouldn't, you know, if we saw an infant, you know, that like was trying to stand, we would get excited about that, even if they fell down, right? And then they fall down and they learn to get back up again. We would be excited about that process, right? That they're trying, you know? Or it's like, you know, when you see like a child like learning how to ride a bike, like our nephews are doing this right now. Well, one nephew has and the other one is trying to learn to ride a bike without training wheels, right? Like you don't shame them when they fall. You know, you get excited and you say, okay, well, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. We encourage that. You know, it's the same thing when we're like potty training animals, dogs, you know, and it's like, you know, you want them to get it. You want them, you know, like, so I don't know, like this whole idea of natural growth is so interesting to me, but I think that like we have to always go back to why are we doing it as human beings? Like, are we doing it because we want the self-growth, or are we doing it for acknowledgement by other people? If you're doing it for acknowledgement from other people, you're never gonna get it anyway. You're never gonna get exactly what you want, so go back and check yourself and do it for yourself. I think it's a great meditation. Tomorrow's is on forgiving. Oh my Lord, there's a lot of good meditations in here. Okay, let's go back to February 22nd, yesterday, healing hurt relationships. Today I will open myself to healing in my relationships. So much of life depends on the quality of intimacy with myself, and so much of the quality of my intimacy is the quality of my relationships. It is synergistic. As my relationships with myself and my higher power gets better, my other relationships grow. Deep healing with people I care about has much more significance than might appear. It is soul and life transforming. I experience moments of quiet expansion when my head and mind actually feel as if they are widening in all directions. Even though I cannot necessarily sustain this burst, part of it remains with me, integrates into my personality, and becomes mine. I'm willing to grow a step at a time and heal little by little. I can heal hurt relationships. Life is not living, but living in health. Marshall. I don't know who Marshall is. It's like martial arts, it's spelled. Probably a famous philosopher that I've never heard of before. I'm like in my head and I'm trying to think about something. I feel like I just watched a TV show. I'm watching Cheer, so it might have been on Cheer. But I'm like, something that I was watching, I honestly can't for the life of me remember what it was, but it was talking about hurt relationships, you know? And somebody was saying, you know, it was opposing sides of, one person felt one way and one person felt the other way about, you know, how those situations should be handled. I think just because you want to make amends to somebody, just because you want to heal a past relationship doesn't necessarily mean you want to go back and be friends with that person. You know, I think there's a real misconception with that. There's a lot of people in my life that I have, you know, made amends to, or, you know, tried to mend fences with that person, and they've done the same with me. But like, neither one of us have the desire to be friends with each other again. You know what I mean? Like, I think to be able to stand in the same room and be civil with each other, I think it's very much what happens like with, you know, separated parents or divorced parents, you know? One of the things that makes me the saddest is when I witness parents that fight in front of their kids when they're divorced or separated. And, you know, I've even had friends of mine that have said to me, I know, but like, you know, he is such a, you know, whatever, you know, a-hole, and, you know, like, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but your kids are the ones that are suffering. Like, don't do that in front of your kids. I can literally count on one hand the times that my parents fought in front of me. And even though I knew, like, I mean, you know stuff as a kid, right? Like, even though I knew that my parents didn't really care for each other, I knew they respected one another. And I knew that they loved me individually and together, right? Like, I never questioned that. So when I see parents that fight in front of kids and stuff, it just makes me so sad. I'm like, this is, you know, like, you know, I had a friend of mine, and her whole tune changed because something happened, and, you know, but she like literally refused to get along with her kids, and she would say things, you know, like, I just, you know, they need to know that he's not a great person. And like, he had done some things, but they didn't affect him being a father. You know what I mean? Like, and it wasn't anything of like a really harsh nature. I mean, to her, it probably was perceived that way, but it wasn't like her kids weren't in any kind of danger or anything. And she was like, you know, I said, when you talk about him that way, like, you're gonna look back on this someday, and you're gonna want your kids to have a relationship with their father. And if they don't, you don't want it to because you had something to say about it. You know, I think, like, it's interesting when we talk about hurt relationships. Like, when we have hurt relationships, are our hurt relationships affecting other people and their relationships with the people that we have hurt relationships with? Because then we're standing in the way of that, you know? Like, I've talked about this before. My friend Tanya and I, we have another friend of ours that, like, for a long time I didn't talk to, and Tanya and her were still friends and whatever, and I was very hurt over the situation. And we're fine today. We talk today and we're friends today. But for a long time we weren't, you know, and it hurt. But at the same time, it was like, okay, she was allowed to have her friendship with that person. That had nothing to do with her, that we, like, were on the ouch, you know. But it still affects that. It made it awkward for her. It made it uncomfortable for her, you know, because Tanya would say, oh, you know, like, well, hey, I'm going to go do something with so-and-so. What, do you care? like, I'm like, girl, you don't have to answer to me. You know what I mean? Like, we're grown folk. But I think, you know, for me, the older I get, I don't know, like, it's hard because there's Peter today, and then there's Peter from before 25 years ago, when I got sober. And I think the thing is that Peter from 25 years ago, that active addict and alcoholic, is still in my head, right? So when something goes down, or somebody says something to me or about me or whatever, like, that addict reacts in my head. Like, you are not gonna, you know, that kind of thing, right? That real reactionary, kind of angry, resentful person. But, like, I don't want to be that today. And so that's why it's like restraint of pen and tongue, right? That's why I have to, like, hit the pause button, and I have to respond rather than react, because I can go there real quick, right? Like, I was not, like, a very good person back then. And I would go off on somebody in a heartbeat. I did not care, okay? I didn't care if me going off of them, there would be, you know, like, they would come back at me. I didn't care, okay? I'd be like, oh, you know, you think you're somebody. You know what? I was always telling somebody the truth, okay? You know what I mean? I don't need to do that today. Like, I know who I am, you know, and I have a higher power, and my higher power knows who I am too. I have friends, I have family that love me and know me, and that's all that's really that important to me today. And I have to continue to work on myself. I don't have to prove myself to the world. Do you know what I mean? Like, I find myself doing that from time to time, and it's so discouraging to me. That's like the meditation we just read. That's like the 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, right? When you find yourself, like, feeling like you need to defend yourself to the world, you know, or defend yourself to a friend or somebody, right? And it's like, then you catch yourself and you're like, oh, like, I don't really need to do this. You know, I just don't. But I think we all capture ourselves doing that from time to time. So anyway, I think those are great meditations. I will say this, though. I think that there are times that we can heal relationships. I think sometimes time needs to go by. And then I think there's other times, and I heard this on an Oprah like 20 years ago, and it really stuck with me, that it's just time to say goodbye to friendship sometimes. You know, it is okay to say goodbye to a friendship and say, you know what, like, I wish you the best. We need to like cross paths. I wish you all the best in the entire world. We had great times, didn't we? We had great memories. I wish you the best. And just keep it civil and keep it nice and say, you know, you're over here, I'm over here, and like, that's fine. We don't need to interact. And, you know, I've had situations like that in my life. I've had situations like that in my life that then have come back and turned into friendships again, right? So, you know, it just, maybe that's a stepping stone towards that. But then I've also had situations like that where they've never mended again, and we've just kind of kept our, you know, hey, it's good to see you, you know? Like, we can be adults and be that way to one another. We don't have to, like, get nasty about things, you know? All right, let's read one more meditation. Since this will be posted late, I'm going to read The Nightlight by Amy Dean, a book of nighttime meditations. You know I love this one so much. Was it the other day that I figured out that I thought this one was for, I can't believe it's almost the end of February, that this one was for like Codependence Anonymous? Okay, February 23rd. More important than learning. Let me have a sip of water first. February 23rd. More important than learning how to recall things is finding ways to forget things that are cluttering the mind. Before going to sleep at night, empty your consciousness of unwanted things even as you empty your pockets. Eric Butterworth. Many of us may make lists of things we need to do. Me, I do. I made a list over there of the things I need to make a list for this week. Many of us make lists of things we need to do. Should I go over and read the whole thing over? I'm not going to. Many of us may make lists of things we need to do. We may refer to a calendar for our scribbled notations of places to go and people to see. We may look over our course syllabus for chapters to read or papers to write. Or we may keep it all in our heads, mentally checking off each item as it's done. But tonight we can put away the list, close the calendar book, put away the course syllabus, and empty our minds of obligations, tasks, and duties. Unless we want to keep our heads spinning during a sleepless night, we must learn to turn off the achieving and doing sides of our minds and give room to the relaxing and spiritual sides. We can take away the items cluttering our minds, one at a time. Tomorrow will arrive in its own time. Tonight is the time for us to relax. Tonight I can close my eyes and visualize putting aside each item. I will achieve total relaxation and peace. Listen, you know, I'm going to give you guys some advice. When I was doing my evening little rituals of my skin products and all that stuff, which I do from time to time, maybe a couple of times a week. But when I would do that, and then I would just like go, like plugged my phone in before, I would do my face, I would go lay down, and I would just lay there and I could smell like the lavender scent, the hydrating face mask, all that stuff. And I just drank some water and it was just so relaxing. And you know, like the dogs would be there, you know, Alex and everything. It was just so, like I could feel the fan. It just was like a really relaxing moment. And my mind would just be settled. And then like I would want to make a list about something or, you know, like, hey, I got to write this down or I got to, you know, send an email to myself or something about this. And then I was just like, no, like if you forget it, you forget it. And it's not that important. And if you remember it tomorrow, you remember it tomorrow. I just kind of let this peace come over me. Those are some of the best evenings of my life, okay? If you're watching this and it's not too late, go up to CVS or Walmart or the Meijer or wherever, you know, and go in and take $5-10 if you can afford it, okay? And buy a Neutrogena. They come in these little pods, hydrating face masks, and you put it all over your face. You know, just wash your face. I don't know, find some kind of spray. The Evian sprays aren't too expensive. They have some other ones that are, you know, on sale. They always have them that are on sale. And, you know, then go lay in bed or take a bath tonight or like a really hot shower and put in some like I'm really obsessed right now with the Soap and Glory body wash and conditioner and body butter. It's cheap. You can get that at Target. You can get it at Walgreens and it's super cheap and it smells so good. And then just allow that whole process of like kind of like a skin regimen, which I know it sounds crazy, but it's like taking care of our physical is taking care of our, you know, inside too. And then just allow your mind to relax tonight before you go to bed. Trust me, it will make a huge difference. The nights that I've allowed myself to do that, I get a much, you know, more peaceful, deep sleep. So anyway, try that tonight and let me know in the comment section tomorrow if it makes a difference. And if you have any suggestions for me, I'd love to hear them too. So anyway, I love you guys and we went 20 minutes almost. Can you believe it? I could have gone 40. I could have done 40. So anyway, I love you guys and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.